Competent Poseidon. Chapter 1, Competent? That's hard. Third-person POV. Greetings Ron. Welcome to That Has Never Been and Never Will Be, the Rob says to the soul which has arrived somewhere and nowhere. Reincarnation, Ron asks. Sure, if you want. But a fair warning. You only get one wish and that's it. No change in looks or personality will be allowed and you will take what you wish for, without me really helping you out. What do you say? The Rob asks. I accept. I understand that Robs aren't babysitters, so I should be able to take responsibility for my wishes. Good, then what would you like to wish for? I would like to become Poseidon, from Greek mythology. But I would like to phrase my wish a bit more. Smart. Sure, go ahead. I would like to become Poseidon but with my memories and thoughts. I don't want to become someone else, as that is equal to dying. And that is the most important aspect I want. I want to become competent. A competent Greek god, other than Hades? Impossible. I'm not even sure the world could withstand something like that. Is there not some rule that makes them dicks or something? The Rob asks in jest. Well I don't know. I am not going to lie, that is a very good wish. Some might say that those are 3 wishes, but you just structured your wish a bit more. No actually those are 3 wishes, now that I think about it. What to do? I kinda want to see the competent Greek god now that you mentioned it. But I said only 1 wish, so that would be cheating. How about an equivalent exchange? What do you have in mind? You may keep your memories, since you're right, losing your memories is like dying as you are no longer yourself. But in turn, I will take away your knowledge about the Greek pantheon and the world you are going to. You will still keep most of the meta-knowledge as it is called, but not for that world. How does that sound? I'm not sure how that is equivalent, but okay, good. Then off you go. Poseidon POV. I open my eyes and see a giant hand grabbing me. I see a woman crying, seemingly breaking mentally, and I see my father, Cronus, who just throws me into his mouth and swallows. What a prick. Why is my father swallowing me? What the F***ck is going on? Well now it begins, my journey in this new world which, I have absolutely no idea what world it is. All I know is that my father just swallowed me and that my mother looked like she was dying inside. That one hurt a bit. Well, I am in a world full of gods, that much I do know, because I know that I'm a god. My name is Poseidon, the god of the sea and all bodies of water, earthquakes and, horses? Why horses though? This is weird. I can feel myself age as I am transported down the esophagus. Why do I age though? There are truly many questions. Like, what is this essence of competence I was gifted by the Rob? That seems strange to me. Although, now that I think about it, there was this fanfiction trope called essences or something like that. Yeah, those were cool. I remember reading those. Wow, my memory is impressive. I can remember everything. That has to be this essence. Let's see here, what are the boons of this essence? I have never heard of this one. Here we go. Essence of competence. You gain a pool of ever-flowing inspiration, which increases with time but also your accomplishments, flowing faster and faster while also growing more and more potent in its nature. This pool initially may be distributed amongst 10 subjects or modifiers per day, but within a year of doing even absolutely nothing, will double in both flow and potency. These will all mix together following your desires. These may draw from reality, or fiction, or may be entirely original, but require some level of quantification and qualification, even if you may draw from counterfactual or incomprehensible sources. What is this? Wait, I understand. So I basically have 3 pools of inspiration. These pools grant me access to competence from all across fiction or this world, or can even be made up by yours truly. That is, simply broken if I'm honest. Wait, what else? Subjects are bodies of knowledge, skill, training, and / or experience, which may include but are not strictly limited to the arts, humanities and sciences, direct technological designs and spells, careers such as lawyer or secret agent, counters for opponents, or literally just asking for direct personal information on a person. These subjects will update in real time in regard to your level of investment as well as the broadness of the subject. Modifiers affect everything you are capable of doing, which may include but is not strictly limited to direct effects such as speed, efficiency, and adaptability. Methodologies such as modular design or security engineering. Aesthetics, which may affect its design and offer more knowledge in certain subjects such as solarpunk, offering much in the way of sustainability for technology while also presenting as more green. Or anomalous properties such as anti-gravitation or negentropy. Subjects and modifiers are not necessarily separate types, and everything mixes together ideally. Some subjects may modify others. Secret agent produces spy gadgets with charges put in engineering, while some modifiers may offer knowledge. Wait, this is really overpowered. Imagine me slowly improving my mind, body, soul, resistance, divinities, there is no limit. That is so cool. Oh, snap. I truly will become the most competent Poseidon or Greek god in existence. I can learn how to fight without actually training much. I can learn additional abilities from some of my favorite fiction. Oh, that is amazing. I have so many ideas. So many things to learn, and I can't wait. Well, it looks like I have to wait. I could use the first pool for now and gain information about my current situation. So let me try this. I guess, it works off of intent. So I will simply focus on having 1 pool of inspiration about the current situation and, voila. I see. So that's how it is. So I am Poseidon, a god and also the son of Rhea and Cronus. Rhea is the Titaness, daughter of Uranus, the primordial of the sky, and Gaia, the primordial of earth, and the mother of several Olympian gods. She seems to have had 4 other children before me, who were all eaten by Cronus. Why would she continue to birth more children if? I see. She is the Titaness of fertility and motherhood. Wow. What a eat up situation to be in. You know your husband is an abusive cunt, but you still continue to birth him children. Oh no, that's not how it is. Aha, well that sucks bad. My father is Cronus, the Titan of time and the king of all titans. He ate all his offspring because of some prophecy his father Auranos said to him when he and his siblings killed him, or cut him to pieces at least. What a terrible family history I have. And the reason why I'm aging this fast is because of the effects of Cronus' body and his divinity of time. Alright. Now about myself. What and who am I? What is special about me, my biology and the powers I may wield? An unknown amount of time passes with me using the 10 pools of inspiration to gain more information and knowledge about myself and my situation. I found a very interesting loophole. By using the pools of inspiration, I was able to gain a lot of information about Greek mythology and the Greek pantheon. Imagine that. The one thing that the Rob took away from me, has been regained by using the hacks he gifted me. I hope he doesn't take this as an insult. Quite cool, not going to lie. So I learned a lot of things about myself and my family. I now understand why I wanted to be a competent Greek god. Except for Hades, they are pretty embarrassing. But I'll be different, and using this essence of competence, I will be able to become a broken with this. I can improve anything and everything. Not at the same time, but it is still amazing. The speed at which I improve or gain information and skills gets faster too. I feel that I have finally reached the end of the esophagus and feel myself falling down. Gravity seems to function normally. I fall and my eyes have finally adapted to the darkness, using another one of my pools to get there. I would have been able to do this without using a pool, but I did it anyway. I didn't want to lose my sight anyway. Splash. I fall into the gastric acid and feel as if it starts to dissolve my body. I snap my mouth shut and focus on using one of the pools to gain resistance to the acid ever so slowly. My biology makes it so that I heal from the damage just as fast as I am dissolved. The pain is unbelievable, so I use another pool to simultaneously gain pain resistance. I don't want to not feel pain but to be able to ignore it. My mind is truly powerful and I can already feel myself handling it. After a while, I don't know how long it has been, the pain is manageable. I still feel it, but it doesn't bother me anymore, not in the slightest. I also feel the acid resistance making me more and more immune to the gastric acid that I am exposed to. My healing is now faster than the damage, so I am no longer taking damage, which is amazing. Now that the acid no longer pains me, I have another idea. As Poseidon, I am the god of the sea and all water bodies, so acid should be included in that as well. I wonder what it is that stops me from having any control over this water here. I should be able to do this. I try to feel my divinity over the sea, water, and liquids. It is there, but I am just out of reach. It feels like it is being suppressed by something. I am still using 2 pools to gain acid resistance and pain resistance, so I have 8 pools left to use for other things. First, I want to know why I am seemingly suppressed here. Second, I want to have an acid manipulation ability. Something like Mina from My Hero Academia or Goop from Ben 10. Lastly, I want to either combine the abilities or make them stronger. I think it has something to do with my divinity being blocked or suppressed or something. That would make the most sense since I am inside the stomach of my father, who is the Titan of time. I can feel his power and it is overwhelming right now. I will need a lot of training, or well, not really, but I will need to train and then grow more powerful if I want to have a chance against Cronus and then later on my brother Zeus. Now that I think about it, I want to learn and be able to do a lot of things and can't wait to get things started. I will also need a cool and powerful weapon. The best would be a growth type weapons that grows with me. Urd from Bleach would be a good character to learn from. And there is another character that I will definitely learn from. So much to do. Very well then. Let's get started. Chapter 2, Meet the Siblings. Poseidon POV. I focus on the task at hand. More and more the skills and abilities of different characters enter my very being and I start to learn what I want to know. Finally, after a while, I understand why my powers are this low and suppressed. It is the body of Cronus pressuring me and that is something that just won't do. I think of possible solutions, as simultaneously the skills of acid manipulation continue to be ingrained into my being. Ah, I see. Very simple solution then. The best way to break the suppression of my divinity and powers is to grow more powerful, and that can be achieved by increasing the quality and quantity of my divinity. I use 2 pools to do just that. One of them increases the quality of my divinity and another increases my quantity. Now, I only have to wait for the suppression to stop working and for me to break free of these shackles. After doing just that, I can feel the effects of my other inspiration pools reaching an astounding level of acid manipulation. I focus and start to move the acid around myself. I can feel my control over the stomach acid grow as I go along. The fluid moves according to my will and I begin to move my hands around. Following my will, I focus another pool of inspiration on water bending from Avatar, The Last Airbender. I get information on the stances and start to do them as well. My essence is amazing in this aspect. You only require 1 repetition to engrave something within your muscle memory and may extrapolate entire fields with simply basic knowledge, albeit more will aid you in this endeavor as well as going further beyond. I continue to go through the motions and feel like I have to do less and less to achieve the same results, and how my movements become more powerful and my control over the acid strengthens when I do them. I can feel myself approaching some kind of barrier in this as the limits of basic water bending seem to be reached. I can feel the potential of bending anything containing liquids. I propel myself forward and start to surf on the acid, like I would in the ocean, and a smile makes its way on my face. I am beyond happy right now. This is an amazing feeling. Amidst this tragedy of being swallowed by my father, I found something to enjoy and do while I waited to grow strong enough and escape this place. The grind is all there is. Petir Baelish was right all along. I have 2 pools of inspiration focused on increasing the quantity and quality of my divinities, one for the bending and another for the acid manipulation. This leaves me with 6 pools of inspiration to do other things. As I create a tube to surf through, I begin to think that somewhere here should be my siblings and that I might want to find them. Although they do be trouble though, never mind, they are my family and I at least can go find them. I technically continue training. No matter what I do, I surf around the area and don't realize how long this takes. I start to feel a connection with the acid and can feel the different aspects that make up the liquid. The longer I am alive and the more I use this essence, the more ideas I have on how to use it. As Poseidon, my skills and power have so much potential. Water or any form of liquid is almost everywhere. The ocean has a deep connection to something, which I am unsure what it is right now. This world or universe is much bigger than I could have imagined at first. I am constantly growing more powerful in my divinities and my connections to them are becoming stronger, allowing me to use more of my power. I am no longer using my hands to surf on the acid and already do it subconsciously. I start to use my 6 remaining pools of inspiration to begin increasing my body attributes: strength, healing, dexterity, senses and control. I don't want to lose my control as I grow stronger. Thankfully, I can master things by doing them once. I don't know how long I am surfing and swimming around the gastric acid, but I hear something. Voices, in the distance. I change my course and move towards them. There I see a rather small platform with 3 women and 1 man sitting naked and discussing something. Those must be my siblings. I jump out of the acid and land on the platform, causing it to sway from side to side. Thud. Hello there. No one says anything and just looks at me with surprise. I look at each of them and use my last pool of inspiration to gather information on each of them one after the other. Their strengths, weaknesses, characters, and most importantly the way to defeat them, should the need arise. No, not if, but when. Who are you? Another one of our siblings? Couldn't you have done something to save us? One of the women asks in an arrogant tone. Goddess Hera. Hera, depicted as a majestic and solemn goddess, often wearing a crown and holding a scepter or a pomegranate, symbolizing fertility and marriage, her 2 divinities. Of course, right now all of them are naked. Hera is the future queen of the gods and the goddess of marriage and family. She is known for her jealous and vengeful nature, particularly towards Zeus's lovers and offspring, but she is also seen as a protector of married women and a preserver of the sanctity of marriage. She is arrogant and spiteful. Defeating her will be easy as I am already more powerful than her at her peak. Useless. Stop it, Hera. Can't you see, this is our brother? How sad that you had the same fate as we did, dear brother. I am Hestia, your eldest sister. What is your name? Goddess Hestia, my eldest sister. Hestia is often depicted as a modestly veiled woman, sometimes holding a flame or a staff. Her appearance is serene and calm, reflecting her peaceful nature. Hestia is the goddess of the hearth, home, and domesticity. She is one of the original 12 Olympian gods but is often less prominently featured in myths. Hestia is known for her gentle, kind, and non-confrontational nature. She symbolizes the warmth and stability of the home and family. Unlike other gods, she does not partake in conflicts or scandals, embodying a sense of calm and order. Her love for her family make her useless in taking sides or doing something against the way her brothers act in the myths. An embarrassing addition, but she does appear to be nice. She has the potential to be powerful, but her gentle nature is what holds her back. I can defeat her with my water and other forms of liquid manipulation, but it would be a harder fight than Hera. My name is Poseidon. What are your names? Oh, Poseidon is it? Well, I am Demeter, the prettiest of your siblings. Goddess Demeter, my 2nd eldest sibling. Demeter is often portrayed as a mature woman, sometimes carrying sheaves of wheat or a cornucopia, symbolizing abundance and the harvest. She has the most MILF-like figure, and I have to agree, she is the hottest of all the goddesses here. Demeter is the goddess of agriculture and fertility. She is nurturing and protective, particularly of her future daughter Persephone. Her moods affect the growth of crops, reflecting her deep connection to the cycles of nature. I can't say whether she will still have her daughter in this life, but her nature won't change just because she might not have Persephone. Prettiest? Yeah, right. With those disgusting breasts, you can't even see your legs. Something I pride myself in. You are just fat, Hera says and scoffs. What? You wench are just jealous, Demeter remarks, but Hestia manages to stop a fight from happening. Defeating Demeter is one of the easiest things to do. I can just refuse to give her any form of water and she will suffer and eventually grow very weak. But I don't think that is something I would have to do. Demeter seems to be the 2nd least likely Olympian to bother me. Nevertheless, it is good to know. And this is our brother, Hades. He is your elder brother. Come Hades, greet our newest sibling, Hestia says, but only gets a small scoff from the pale man. Hades is typically portrayed as a stern, dark-bearded man, often shown with a scepter or the key to the underworld. He is sometimes depicted wearing a helmet that makes him invisible, the Helm of Darkness. Hades is the god of the underworld and the dead. He is a more somber and serious deity compared to his more vibrant Olympian siblings. Although often feared and misunderstood, Hades is not evil, he is just and fair, ensuring the proper order of the afterlife. Hades is known for his stern but impartial nature, ruling over the dead with a sense of duty and responsibility. He is also associated with wealth and the earth's hidden riches, often called Plaudon, meaning the wealthy one. Interesting. The information I get back is that we are somewhat opposites to one another. He has a clear connection to the dead while I have a close connection to life. I see. The reason for this is my divinity of oceans and the sea. The oceans are the font of all life and therefore I am the opposite of Hades. How strange, I feel like he might be a good guy compared to his other siblings. And yet, he feels the same thing as I do. But he won't have many friends anyway. I'll try to be a good brother then, and if I look at some things the Olympians did, that won't be very hard. It's nice to meet all of you. I'm glad I found you here in this dark place and don't have to spend my time here alone. I tell them, although it is a lie. I would prefer to be alone right now so that I can play with my powers and find a way to get out of here. But now, I'll have to wait and bide my time, in order not to reveal all of my abilities and powers to them. We're also happy to have you here, Poseidon. Welcome to the family, Hestia says. Hestia feels warm like the hearth and fire. Hestia is cold and arrogant. Demeter is like the seasons full of surprises and Hades is cold and distant. Good, now I know what to expect and am prepared for it. The plans to take each of them out are already in place and I can feel that I am stronger than all of them combined and the distance between us is growing. I got familiar with all of them and did my best to get to know them. That is of course not true since I already know all of their characters and strengths. I used the last pool of inspiration to get the skills of small talk and charisma from a character I knew, Gold Roger. I started with his personality and charisma at first and not his powers or other skills. I just wanted to get all my siblings to warm up to me and see me as one of their own. And it seemed to work. My charisma shot through the roof and even the arrogant and cold Hera was starting to be affected. She got slightly red when I talked with her and gave her compliments. I continued to increase my charisma beyond what Gold Roger had and let it work. My charm was another thing I started to raise using Takamai Yuzui as a template. My looks started to transform and I exuded charm and charisma beyond what a normal god was capable of. I took inspiration from Poseidon from the anime records of Ragnarok. And hot damn, I look good. But I wanted to have a more muscular build. Picture. So I thought who I knew had a sick build physically speaking and was still very flexible. I wanted to be absolutely ripped and not just bloated. And who else but Yuichiro Hanma. So I started to use him as a template and began to use a pool of inspiration and took his physique slowly. Picture. Finally, I wanted to add some tattoos to my body, only a few. I wanted to make later have them be either seals or magical tattoos with different powers imbued into them. Picture. So I had the Poseidon from Roar face and hair, Yuichiro's build and ripped physique and the final tattoos that I could change later on. To make sure the others didn't notice anything strange, I used the long time we were waiting and spending time together to make it appear as if my body was going through a transformation slowly and on its own. That way, they didn't realize it was my doing. I don't trust any of them, so I was extra careful. Now it was time to continue training and waiting for Zeus to free us. Chapter 3, Getting Out. Poseidon POV. Well, that was tiring, is what I would say if I were a normal human. But interestingly enough, I am having fun. These pools of inspiration are amazing. I can turn off anything I don't want to, but if not, I am truly ever growing and evolving, if you will. I learn more about myself and my powers as time passes and everything I have to do, is just, do nothing. But that isn't my style. I enjoy doing something and while I have to wait for the most lustful god to come and save us, I might as well grow more powerful. The time inside the stomach of my father turned out to be a fruitful endeavor. When I showcased my ability to bend and control the gastric acid, my siblings were astounded and they asked me how I did that. I explained to them how we all had divinities and that all it took was practice and hard work. At least now, the pressure of Cronus power was strong on my siblings and none of them had my essence. I still encouraged them to start to practice despite the slow progress they felt and the little they could do. I even encouraged Hera to practice some fighting and to feel her divinity. She is a proud and arrogant woman, but that's alright. Not like she has any reason to be arrogant, but that is none of my concern. I still taught her some fighting techniques and created swords for us to train by forming a construct out of stomach acid. I had to separate the acidic part from the fluid, to have Hera be able to grab it and use it like a sword. She is a rather skilled fighter, but that is to be expected from a goddess. Still, the compliments I gave her were well received and Demeter in her competitive way also wanted to learn and not be left behind. Hades didn't want anything to do with me at first and it didn't really get any better. He was a brooding pessimistic man who liked to stay by himself. I can respect that, but right now, I spend a lot of time with my sisters. They should know that I was the strongest and that I wouldn't take shit from anyone in the future. But they should also know that they could come to me if they needed something, as long as I could grant it to them and they weren't assholes. But that was a difficult requirement. Hestia didn't like to fight and she also never practiced with us. She did practice using her divinity over the hearth though and also managed to summon food for us to consume. It was a delicious meal for all of us. Hera became a skilled swordwoman and Demeter was also quite skilled in swordsmanship and using her plants. Demeter loved her divinities the most, I believe. She couldn't get enough of her plants. As for me, well, I was good at everything I set my mind to. Right now, I am using the pool of inspiration to get everything about Urtsunemeya. His skill in forging Zanpakuto was what interested me the most, but why stop there? I could get everything about him anyway. Picture. Urtsu was a master swordsmith / Zanpakuto creator, swordsman, Hakuto expert, Kido expert, and has an overall powerful soul. Not powerful enough to impress a god, but it won't hurt to have my soul grow stronger. He is not the only one anyway. I will take inspiration from many characters from the Bleach universe. There are some hacks there that will fit me well. What's cool about the pools of inspiration is that if I want to, I can get everything the characters have, even their equipment. This means that I will get to use Asachi and Urtsu's Zanpakuto. That, combined with all of his knowledge, will allow me to create my personal weapon. A Zanpakuto which suits me best. I will use my essence to go beyond what was thought possible in Bleach and combine the Zanpakuto I eventually get into one. I have a very good idea of how this would work already. I just need some more time. I create a sword out of frozen acidic fluids and then move along with what I learned from Urtsu. This is amazing. I do it once and it already is ingrained into my muscle memory. I can master these things by doing them once and can take them further beyond that. I create an enemy in the form of Urtsunemeya and prepare to fight him. Unlike the real one, he can't talk sadly, but he has all the skills of Urtsu, as I am controlling him and making him move. This trains both my swordsmanship and my control over water manipulation. I also need to focus on 3 things at the same time, making this very hard, for a while. I move and the water Urtsu does the same. Our blades clash and I go through what I know. It is like playing against yourself in chess, quite exhausting because you constantly outsmart your outsmarting. But it works nonetheless. I can feel myself growing more proficient in both water manipulation, acid manipulation, and swordsmanship. Our speed picks up more and more and I feel myself connect with the sword. Cutting becomes not just something I do with the sword but with my entire body. I can feel something approaching, but am stopped by Demeter. Hey Poseidon, what are you doing there? She asks. I'm training Demeter. You are fighting against an acid construct? Isn't that useless because you know what is coming? She asks. In a way, yes. But it's still useful for training my water manipulation, I tell her. I see. Well, Hestia has conjured more food. If you want to eat, she tells me. Sure, let's eat something. This training continues. After a few days, I had everything Urtsunemeya had and more. I have all his knowledge, skills, and abilities. I even have Seifushi, Sheath Dodger. It is a miraculous blade, but I can see ways to improve it. I haven't shown the katana to any of my siblings and I want to keep it that way. So I think about doing something outrageous. And this is where my divinities come in. Earthquakes. Earthquakes is the keyword here. Associated with earthquakes are shockwaves or vibrations. Vibration emission or manipulation is the subpower of wave manipulation, which should be manageable for me. So I start to use another pool of inspiration for this reason. There is one person who uses the power of vibrations or quakes in anime and manga. And that person is the pirate Edward Newgate or Whitebeard from One Piece. So I begin using him as inspiration and start to take everything again. Whitebeard was a powerful man for a half-giant. And the powers of a powerful pirate like Whitebeard are impressive. As for vibration manipulation, there are amazing and powerful uses. From what I gathered with my pool of inspiration, there are many different aspects of vibration manipulation. Users can create, shape, move, control, interact and manipulate vibrations. A mechanical phenomenon whereby oscillations occur at an equilibrium point. Thus, they can manipulate vibrations in themselves, others, objects, the environment/surroundings, etc., through the ground, water, or air. Vibration is a very overarching concept and phenomenon that affects almost everything on a physical level, including sound, temperature and shockwaves, allowing users to exert their power over them. They would also be able to use vibrations to increase their own senses and condition, most commonly augmenting their combative output. For example, users would be able to cause massive physical damage by dramatically increasing small vibrations to seismic tremors, which can range from tearing down buildings to pulverizing continents. Contrary to popular belief, vibrations do not necessarily have to exist within noticeable tremors of matter, thus they play an important role in quantum physics. Its role was interpreted as this: everything is energy. That being said, mastery of this ability will allow the user to utilize the frequency of vibrations that exist within the particles that form reality. I started with the Gura Gura no Mi from Whitebeard and then continued with the rest of his powers, while I was at it. This didn't take very long and soon I was ready to continue with my focus on vibration manipulation and its applications. After vibrations come sound manipulation and also wave manipulation in general. It was a long process but something that I had tremendous talent for, as both vibrations or earthquakes and the sea or water connect at waves. Wave manipulation is an area where both of my divinities meet and that has an effect on my power. So I started at the bottom with vibration manipulation and started to use many pools to gather inspiration from different people who used vibrations. There were quite a few. After Whitebeard and the Gura Gura no Mi, there was Chinjao with his martial arts Hashoken. Quake and Avalanche from Marvel Comics. Puri Prisoner from One Punch Man realizes he can store and release energy with his ability, Vibration Angel, Descend. Then we have all the speedsters from the DC Comics. I found out that I didn't know about the DC universe, which tells me that I am inside that world. Good to know, but I am much more interested in the source of power behind the speedsters in this universe. The Speed Force, one of the 7 forces of the universe, and there is another one that I feel a very deep connection to. No, actually there are 2, but more on that later. I took inspiration from all those characters and quickly increased my proficiency and understanding of vibrations. The oscillation also allowed me to understand sound in its truest form. Using my growing understanding and power over vibration manipulation, I started to turn my Zanpakuto, say a Fushi invisible. It was very easy after gathering a lot of inspiration from the different pools, making me a master in vibration manipulation. I can see that this will be very powerful in the future. The next thing will be wave manipulation, generation, and everything else. Time passed again, and without noticing the day had finally arrived. A while ago a stone bumped against our platform, telling me that the time of Zeus coming was near. I was sitting cross-legged on the water and focused on my bending prowess. I had made tremendous progress in almost all of my powers. I would never stop growing, but I might not do it this intensely for a while after getting out of here. I start to feel every single source of liquid around me. The acidic waters that make up the gastric fluids, the water in the air in its gaseous form, and my blood. The blood of my siblings and the blood of my father, Cronus. I reached out mentally and felt the blood move around Cronus' body. All the blood vessels and the cells that were supplied with oxygen, as strange as it sounded, could be felt by me. My control over my blood was near perfect by now, but the control over Cronus' blood was hard still. I was still inside his stomach, and he was a powerful titan of time. His divinity and aura were making it hard for me to take control and kill him from inside, for now. Suddenly I feel a liquid come down the esophagus and know instantly what is going on. We are finally getting out. I feel the muscles constrict and the reflexes press the stomach together. A powerful wave of gastric acid pushes all of us towards the esophagus. I create a quick bubble around all of us, to stop them from being hurt as we shoot out of the esophagus and then the mouth, only to land on a marble floor. I am the one who was unaffected by this and took a look around. Very well then, Chapter 4, Crete. Poseidon POV. I look around the giant hall and immediately use pools of inspiration to get knowledge about the people present, their characters, powers, and how to defeat them. My gaze travels from the first tall man, Atlas, to the next ones, and so on and so forth, until it lands on the man in the center, my father Cronus. He is the strongest of all the titans, and his divinity of time makes him the hardest to deal with, but his way of fighting with the scythe and his abilities enter my mind. Brothers and sisters, I am Zeus, your youngest brother. I came here to save you. Let's go, we need to flee, a young man with lightning blue eyes and an explosive physique tells us. So finally I also looked at him and gathered all the information I could want. He will be a problem in the future, it would seem, and I have to be ready for anything he can dish out. But for now, Cronus is our greatest obstacle, as he is without a doubt the strongest titan and god present. I can't defeat him yet. I will have to grow more powerful, that's what my inspiration tells me. But surprisingly my divinities are more potent, meaning higher quality and quantity than him. But his raw power is still somewhat greater. Cough cough, catch them, Cronus shouts and wakes all of his brothers from their stupor. They start to rush towards us, but my siblings are already running away. I look at the approaching boulder of a man, Atlas, the titan of strength and endurance. I can feel his physical strength by the vibrations his body releases through the ground and air. I feel his fist shoot towards my face with enough force to level hundreds of mountains. He is underestimating me. His fist impacts my face. Bomb. Huh. Let me show you how it's done, I say, and swing my left fist in a wide arc into his side. Crack. The air and his body crack like glass. The vibrations of his punch were absorbed by me completely. Then I used them, added my own, and smashed my fist into his side, breaking him completely. A moment later, blood shoots out of his body from thousands of small wounds and he vomits a waterfall of blood. Well, that was fun. Total mother dash. I disappear as I turn my body into water particles and allow myself to be carried away by the wind. I follow the trail of my siblings and arrive at the island of Crete. It is a lovely island, but what catches my attention is the ocean surrounding the island. It is calling me and I feel a great longing to dive into it. But for now, I have to at least show myself and prove I'm still alive. I land on the ground and see a few people there. I repeat what I did before and gather intel and vital information on weaknesses and ways to defeat them. I noticed a healthy paranoia in me. I don't trust any of them for some reason. I know all about them, so this does make sense somewhat, but they didn't do it yet. This should be looked at later on, but now I just want to go and meet with the ocean. I saw Rhea, my mother, and how she was crying and hugging all of my siblings. She seemed genuinely happy from what I could gather. They were talking about something when I arrived. Apart from mother, there were 2 other ladies present. One was a goat woman, Amalthea, who was a goat. She was the one who provided Zeus with milk when he was an infant. And finally, we have Métis. I use my pool of inspiration on her. Métis is a titaness and the goddess of wisdom, prudence, and deep thought. She is often depicted as a figure of great intelligence and strategic prowess. Interesting. This will be important in the war to come. Métis is the daughter of the titans Oceanus and Tethys, making her one of the Oceanids, a group of sea nymphs. She is rather powerful, but not even noteworthy when compared to us siblings. She does most of her fighting mentally though, so she is dangerous and I can see both hope and ambition in her eyes. She has a romantic relationship with Zeus, if I see that right. Poor thing. Defeating her will be either easy or slightly less easy. If I wanted to defeat her now, I would have to go through Zeus as he is hot and bothered and wants to stick it in the Oceanid. So he would protect her. If I were to wait though, she would surely get eaten by Zeus, if things aren't stopped. So that's that. I guess, I'll leave her to her devices and use her for the war. My baby boy, I hear mother shout and run towards me. In a heartbeat, she has me in her embrace and plants kisses all over my face. I can't blame her. I'm ravishingly hot. Although that might sound weird as she is my mother, but it's really not. I mean Rhea married her brother so, there is no such thing as incest. Morals are different if you're a god. I missed you so much, my child. How nice that I finally have all of my children together. Sure. I push her away slightly and she stops hugging me. Sheesh woman, it's not like I know her or anything. I understand a quick hug sure, but that's just too much. Thankfully she doesn't make a scene or anything. My children, the situation is dire. Cronus is looking all over for you and wants to capture you again. You need to be ready when the time comes to fight him. Métis is going to help you with it. She is very smart, Rhea says. Indeed. My father Oceanus has been tasked with finding all of us here and is going around the world in search of you. I am unsure of my father's true intentions but right now it stands to reason that he will capture you and send you to Cronus. We are lucky to have been given an idea from Lady Gaia, Métis says. After she says that the wind changes slightly and a fresh fragrant breeze is felt on my skin. The air changes and I feel power coming from all around me. And then a woman appears in front of us. She is different from us siblings and also from the Titans. She is much more powerful and ancient. I immediately used a pool of inspiration to gain information on her, like I had done many times by now. As soon as I do that, the woman turns her head rapidly and looks at me. Our eyes lock and I feel a connection with her. Gaia, Mother Earth, primordial of Earth and my grandmother. I gain more and more information about her and she slowly walks closer to me as I do. My body doesn't get tense as it should, instead I just observe her. Unlike with all the others I used a pool of inspiration on, it goes very slowly with Gaia, but the reason for that is obvious. She is a primordial and has tremendous power to hide herself and her secrets. But nothing works against my pools it seems. She arrives in front of me and smiles gently. She cups my cheek with her hand and looks at me closely. You are a special one, aren't you? Poseidon, she says and then moves away again to address all of us. In order to defeat my son Cronus, you will have to get yourselves weapons to fight him. For this reason, you will have to travel to Tartarus and free my children the Hecantachirs and the Cyclops from the prison Cronus put them in. If you do that, you will get your weapons forged, Gaia says, and looks at Zeus, Hades and especially me. Tartarus? How would we get in there and why would we do that? It's too dangerous, Zeus says. At the end of the day, Zeus is a pussy, that much I found out. If he weren't backed by fate and had such tremendous power, he wouldn't have been king of Olympus for long. He was not a good king and everyone knew of his deeds. He was a tyrant and ruled by fear first and foremost. But what does it need to change this fate? What would be necessary to face Zeus? Was it power? More power than he had? Not really. After all, Cronus had more power than Zeus and yet the Olympians still won in the end. Something that should have been impossible. No, if you wanted to do something about Zeus you would have to challenge fate directly. Because they could simply give him a boost at the right moment should he need it. Could I do that? Could I challenge Zeus and fate at the same time and protect those who are close to me? That goes without question. It will happen, and soon. Gaia didn't say anything else and only looked at me for a while before leaving. She was a strange woman who did things she thought were right. The games she played were in a higher league than what we were used to since she knew the hierarchy of the universe. But that is not important to me right now. I will cross that bridge when I get there. No matter what happens in this life, I will strive to enjoy myself and create bonds with people. Not just fleeting bonds but real ones. I understand that morality and normalcy are now different than they were before, but I will try to be a capable god and not a degenerate. So the expedition into Tartarus was arranged and it was decided that Zeus, Hades, and I would go down to Tartarus and free the Hecantachirs and Cyclops. But before that, I wanted to finally see and connect with the ocean. It was calling me and I couldn't stay away any longer. I moved towards the beach and saw it before me. Beautiful. It's beautiful, isn't it? Hera says, who stood beside me suddenly. I was so immersed that I didn't feel her approach. She looked lovely with her red hair and golden armor. I don't know where she got that from. Picture. What's with the armor? I ask her. Métis thought we should get familiar with it. Zeus agreed with her. As usual. You don't like Métis. Not particularly. She thinks she is the smartest of us and gives out commands. It gets on my nerves, she says. Haha, and it has nothing to do with her relationship with Zeus, I ask her. No, it doesn't. If you say so, I say and walk towards the ocean. When my feet touch the water, I feel a rush of energy unlike any I have ever felt, flow into me. I immediately use another pool of inspiration to find out what this is and why it feels so invigorating and healthy. Life force? This is the life force, one of the 7 fundamental forces of the universe. The life force represents quasi-versal harmonious uniformity and is part of the cosmic force that allows life to flourish, interconnecting every living being down to their very souls. It is wielded by those like Aquaman or Poseidon who are connected to the nurturing oceans, the font of all life. Those touched by this force, whether it be through an object or through the energy itself, retain a connection to all life and can communicate in a telepathic manner. And this is what is happening to me right at this moment. Information, knowledge, connections, it all is pouring into my mind, body, and soul. I use all of my pools of inspiration to pull the life force in, process it and then integrate it with my powers. I want to make this power my own. There is nigh limitless potential with this. I know why I felt so connected to Gaia and why Hades felt like my opposite in a way. He is not the god of death, but rather the dead and the underworld, so that's why we aren't complete opposites. The energy continues to flow into me and I feel how I grow stronger through it. It is not a physical change but rather a spiritual and mental one. But my body starts to change as well. The vessel has to change in order to contain the power within. I don't know how long this will take or what will happen at the end of it, but I will use this time wisely. Let's see how powerful I can get. Chapter 5, Tartarus. Poseidon POV. We were on our way to Tartarus. I had created a boat made out of water to sail to the entrance of the underworld Gaia told us about. Zeus and Hades had turned into animals and were flying there, while I was taking it slow. No need to rush like that. Although right now, Oceanus is looking for us and might find me, so there is that. I enjoy the ride and after a while, we arrive at the entrance. Hades is the one leading us as this appears to be his domain. He just doesn't know it yet. We make our way through the barren and desolate lands of the underworld. I see souls flying around aimlessly and sometimes they disappear. The reason for this is that I have used the pool of inspiration to acquire everything about Urtsunemeya, so I naturally see souls like this. Someone cough Hades cough will have to clean this place up in the future. I don't envy him for this work. I would also be a depressed man if I was Hades. You have to be stronger than Zeus if you want to enjoy yourself. The arrogance of Zeus is seemingly growing daily and I can see his ego taking physical form after winning the war. That won't be any of my problems thankfully. I'll dip into the ocean and not go live on Olympus. In this universe, the god sphere is where the gods reside and from where magic comes from. But why would I want to stay there when I have such a beautiful world and universe down here? There are certainly some very dark things happening, but those can be dealt with in time. I only need to create a separate dimension where I can place my home in the ocean. Then I could go there if I need some time for myself but still be a second away from Earth. Olympus will be a place for arrogant and useless gods in the future, not at all what I want. I only recently found out that we are considered new gods in this universe. We were created by something called the God Wave emanating from the source that swept through the universe when the old gods died and the fourth world was born. And right now, we are 5 billion years before modern times, which gives me more than enough time to do anything I want, plan for upcoming events and have some children, if I want. We make our way through the underworld with Hades' help and reach the entrance to Tartarus. It is so deep that it would take an anvil 9 days to fall from the earth to Tartarus, according to the pool of inspiration I used to find out what to expect down there. I wasn't going to go there without knowing what I would have to face. This was the best course of action. I was very thankful to my essence. Zeus and Hades looked at each other and then at me but I just shrugged and then jumped in. No need to think too much about this. I can control my body by controlling all of the liquid inside my body, blood, or water or any other. So I am not afraid of dying. My durability is growing each day as well, so I am confident I would survive anyway. I speed up our travel and reach the bottom first. Zeus and Hades will follow shortly but I am not interested in spending days falling to the ground. Looking around, I see a dark, misty, and dismal place filled with monsters and creatures of evil or destructive nature. It would make for a good training ground for my kids in the future, but I would have to wait until I am strong enough to face Tartarus. From what I am gathering, he is a rather powerful primordial and I am not yet powerful enough to face him. But that will surely be the case in the future. I am using my pools of inspiration to find ways how to defeat anyone who is powerful. I will not do what others want me and instead what I myself want. Zeus will probably be the first one who will be cross with me and then other more powerful entities. But the grind is what I am all about. After playing around with the monsters while waiting for Zeus and Hades, we could finally continue on our way. Hades no longer knew exactly where we were going and only had a general idea. I on the other hand knew where we had to go. Surprisingly both of them, I was better at this than they were. And the reason for that? The life force, I had been absorbing and building a connection to. It was not hard to say that the amount of vitality and pure energy the life force contained was unlike anything else in existence. I had a connection to all life and the more I was connecting to the life force, the more I absorbed and fueled my other powers with it, the closer that connection got. I wouldn't be surprised if I gained another divinity from this and very soon too. With this power, I am able to feel the location of living beings here. The monsters don't feel the same as these other rather strong presences I feel. So that's where we're going. As we approach the location I feel the strong presences, we see a prison with the Hecatoncheires and the Cyclops inside. And next to the prison is one guard. Camp. As I do automatically, I use another pool of inspiration to get information on the monster and to find ways how to defeat her. Then I find out what she did in the original mythology. Camp served as a jailer or guard of the Hecatoncheires, the hundred-handed giants and the Cyclops in Tartarus. These formidable beings were imprisoned by the Titans because of their immense power. When Zeus decided to free the Hecatoncheires and Cyclops to aid in the Titanomachy, he had to defeat Camp. She has a monstrous figure with a grotesque appearance. She has the body of a serpentine dragon with a woman's upper body and a scorpion tail. I can tell that her overall power is higher than what Hades and Zeus could overcome, but since it is the monster Zeus defeated in the mythos, it was probably a stepping stone for him to grow more powerful. Too bad I am here right now and I want to fight something strong. And since I don't have anything strong, I'll have to make do with Camp. I'll deal with Camp, you guys go ahead and free the Hecatoncheires and Cyclops, I whisper to them. No, I should be the one to fight the monster since I am the strongest, Zeus says. Sorry, to bust your bubble, but Poseidon is stronger than you are, Hades says with his cool and apathetic voice. Nonsense. I had decades of training and grew up in Crete under Mate's guidance. I am clearly the most skilled and powerful among all of our siblings, Zeus argues. How about instead of boasting, you show us what you can do and fight Camp, I suggest. Yes, that would be for the best. Watch and learn, there is nothing more powerful than Zeus and I will be the one to defeat our father just like I defeat Camp, Zeus says and slowly walks towards the monster. He moves towards the monster and then stands there with his hands on his hips and shouts in a loud and booming voice. Camp, come and face me. Well, the element of surprise is clearly lost on him, I say to Hades. We are still behind the rock formation, hiding from everyone. Why did you let him go, if you know you are more powerful? Hades asks me. Zeus is arrogant. He will never listen to logic and common sense, because he just doesn't have that. In his me-centered world, he can't imagine anyone being better or stronger than him, so it was no use arguing. Let him break bones and then we'll see if we help him. You're weird. We all are. Or do you think staying inside the stomach of our father who swallowed us didn't leave any lasting damage? Camp turns around to face Zeus who is so much smaller than she is. Her face twists in a nasty and evil smirk. You came, young god. Cronus told me you would arrive and that I would get rewarded if I killed you, or punished if I let you go. Her voice was like poison. You will be the one who is killed today and not the other way around, Zeus says and begins to power up. His divinity over storms and lightning starts to fuel him and he begins to be covered with powerful lightning. He is already quite powerful for such a young god, but not really anything if you compare it to the top dogs. He gets into a throwing position and then shoots the strongest lightning he is capable of right now, at Camp. Boom. The lightning hits Camp in the face and a cloud obstructs our vision. But I can feel that it did basically no damage to her. She is a dragon monster after all, so her defense is remarkably high. I feel her life and power roar in anger as the dust clears and her aura explodes out of her. Whoosh. You dare? A vermin like you dares? I will crush you ant, Camp screams and opens her mouth. A powerful beam of purple dragon fire erupts out of her mouth and shoots towards Zeus. But Zeus, while not as powerful as her, is still the god of lightning, so his reaction is fast enough, not to get hit by the stream of fire completely. Fruum. Zeus' left side is hit by her attack and he shoots back through the air, hitting a boulder behind us and getting knocked out. I assume he had help in the original mythos with fighting Camp. But since both Hades and I only watched, he lost miserably. Too bad for him. My turn, I say and walk forward. Ah, another godling. How nice of you to come towards me. This makes it much easier, Camp remarks. I don't say anything and just walk towards her. My lack of reaction seems to anger her and she once again opens her mouth revealing the purple flames ready to fire at me. This was what I was waiting for. I gather the water and spit in my mouth and use it for my attack. Camp fires a giant stream of purple fire at me and as it gets closer and closer I smile. This is the perfect moment to use my attack. I inhale and focus on my control over water and liquids. And then I open my mouth and from it, I spew out a high-pressure stream that is powerful enough to cut cleanly through the middle of the fire stream. Water-severing wave. Picture. The hair-thin stream of water shoots through the middle of Camp's fire breath and doesn't stop. It continues until it reaches her mouth and cuts right through her mouth and brain, coming out on the other side, killing her in one go. Boom. Camp's heavy body falls to the ground and shakes the ground around me. That was a good way to test my powers, even if it was over quickly. I then approach the cages of the Hecatoncheires and Cyclops. Hello there. My name is Poseidon, and those back there are my brothers Hades and the unconscious one is Zeus. We are sons of Cronus. Gaia told us about you and said we should free you hoping that should we free you, you would make us weapons to fight in the war against Cronus and the Titans. You are Cronus' spawn. How do we know you aren't going to use us and then throw us back here into Tartarus? A good question. I have no interest in throwing you anywhere as long as you don't fight against me, you can do whatever you want. I'm just here to save you, I tell them and shrug. We agree, young god. But make sure to swear on the river Styx that you won't betray us, one of the Hecatoncheires tells me. I swear on the river Styx that if I find no reason to, I will not betray you all, I say. Lighting SFX. After that, we finally left Tartarus again. I don't like it here, far too gloomy and hot. I need the blue sky and a cool breeze now that I know how good it feels to be in the ocean. Chapter 6, Symbol of Power. Poseidon POV. We arrived in the overworld again after traveling all the way back. I am happy to be back as now, I can finally spend more time in the ocean and get to know the sea life there. I am growing more powerful as the day goes by and I could really use a good weapon right about now. I know that the original Poseidon had a trident and honestly, it just feels right to have one. but I can't help but feel that it would be insufficient to use the weapon the Cyclops and Hecatoncheires will create. I want a personal weapon. Something new and special. Something that is only for me and that only I have. Something that will grow with me and is connected to me, to my soul. For that reason, I will use the knowledge I gained from Urtsunemeya to either create my own trident or later on change it and use the trident they made for me, to make my own. I will have to find out how to mix the two materials and make an Asachi for myself. And I know just the way to learn how to do that. Pools of inspiration. So I got to work. The Hecatoncheires and Cyclops were welcomed by Gaia warmly since she was her mother and hadn't seen her for thousands of years if not longer. I wasn't present at that moment and was rather swimming through the ocean enjoying myself and looking at everything, while the pools of inspiration fed me inspiration. I shot through the waters and sought a place to build my kingdom. The place from where I would rule and that I would make my headquarters. Where I would live with my family and those loyal to me. I was also thinking about soldiers. An army to be exact. For the war to come I would need powerful soldiers and fighters. I came across a few sharks or what would be known as sharks in the future. We are many years before modern times after all. Something I remembered that could help me here, came to mind. A few things actually. But mainly the devil fruits from One Piece, specifically the human fruit. It allowed Tony Chopper who was a reindeer to walk and talk like a human. If I could do that with the sharks here, they could be trained and after that, I could give them powers. But there is another thing I am thinking of and that's Waiwaka's power of soul distribution from Bleach. With it, Waiwaka can give small portions of his soul to those he touches and affect them in different ways. He can heal them on the levels of their souls, give them courage or even grant them powers. Upon death, if Waiwaka granted you his soul, it returns to him, along with your knowledge, abilities, and talents. Waiwaka uses the souls he absorbs to get stronger, even in the middle of combat. Anyone who comes in contact with a piece of Waiwaka's soul will be granted that piece, and have their souls absorbed by him upon death. No matter who dies, Waiwaka becomes stronger. This is an amazing ability to have but the fact that I could use that to grant powers is what interests me. Not only that, but apart from the true immortals in this universe it can be an amazing ability to have. It is useless for me, but the fact that it gives powerful control over your subordinates makes the power very attractive. I started to use 2 pools of inspiration to gain information about the technological intricacies of the devil fruits in One Piece. I started with Nefertari D. Lily, as she was queen of Arabasta during the Void Century and had to know who created the devil fruits. But I didn't want to spoil myself so I stopped doing that. I'm sure I'll be able to find out the ending of One Piece in the future, so I simply used a pool of inspiration to find out how the devil fruits were created. To say I am impressed is an understatement. Those were quite smart people and very advanced. I will have to make my kingdom just as advanced. Or rather use technology sparingly. To make life easier, but not to create a modern, futuristic city. After finding out the process, I used the pool of inspiration to gather information on molecular biology and genetical engineering. I will have use for that. The second pool of inspiration was used to get the ability of soul distribution like the one Waiwaka had. There are too many uses for this to not learn how to do that. Since my children will have a piece of my soul when they are conceived, their souls, should they die, won't go to the underworld and instead come to me. With this, I will be able to reincarnate them if I choose to. I make Hades' job easier, I'm sure he will be happy about that. I make my way back to Crete where the Hecatoncheires and Cyclops had finished creating 3 weapons. I don't know why our sisters didn't get any weapons, but if they don't care about them, then that is their problem. I approach the place where Zeus and Hades are waiting for the Hecatoncheires and Cyclops to present our weapons. We have completed your 3 weapons. It was a hard process as we had to imbue the weapons with the potential to withstand and channel your divine energies. They will connect to you, as soon as you touch them. Your control over your specific domains will grow very powerful and make you stand out brightly. So make sure to keep your power in check, especially you Zeus, since your connection to your weapon will have the greatest effect from the 3. They were talking to us one after the other and explained how the weapons would change our ways of using our divinities. Basically, it was both a channel and anchor that would give us a great boost of power and control in our respective domains. Now I am interested to see whether this will also work for me and make my control over the domain of oceans, sea, water, and earthquakes even more powerful than it already is. Or if there is a limit these weapons can push us and are only a cheap requisite that gives boosts if you're rather weak. I will use the pools of inspiration on them to find out the truth of the matter and whether I could use them for what I will do later. Here, Zeus. This is the Master Bolt. A powerful and divine weapon capable of immense destruction. It will be able to contain your pure energy and divine lightning and embody the essence of your power. Zeus takes the seemingly unimpressive weapon into his hands and as soon as his skin makes contact, a powerful force permeates the surroundings and a storm forms in the sky. Powerful winds start to blow and Zeus is covered in truly powerful lightning that heats up the air. I see his expression of ecstasy and understand that the rush of power is getting to his head. Control yourself Zeus, I say and my voice travels to his ears despite the loud screech of lightning. I use my growing control over sound to silence his show of power and make him calm down again. What power! Ha ha ha, thank you Hecatoncheires and Cyclops for this weapon, you will be rewarded for this. As soon as we win the war, you will be allowed to stay with us and make our weapons, Zeus says laughing. After that, it was time for Hades' weapon. His symbol of power was a helm. It looked cool, with its dark design that seemed to swallow all light. Here Hades. The Helm of Darkness. It was crafted from a piece of the essence of the underworld itself, imbued with dark, shadowy properties that reflect your powers, the Cyclops says and hands Hades the helm. Hades takes the helm and I see disappointment in his eyes. He was hoping for a weapon and not an accessory. But he changes his mind as soon as he wears the helm. The moment he does so, two things happen. First, Hades disappears from my 5 senses and second, a powerful wave of pure fear permeates the surroundings attacking everyone's mind and instilling great fear. As soon as I feel the fear, a powerful momentum rushes out of me in denial and refusal to bend to any fear or manipulation of any kind. This momentum travels through everyone present and even knocks out some of the weaker ones present, like Amalthea. Thank you, is all Hades says when he takes the helm back off. I can see disgust in the eyes of our siblings, except Hestia. The fear made a deep impression on them, even Zeus, and that makes sense. Fear is a primal emotion and something no one likes to feel as it makes you powerless. But that's just for the weak. No matter how powerful you are, if you allow fear to overwhelm you, you have a weak mind. Finally, Poseidon. For you, it was hard to create a suitable weapon but we managed to create one. This is the trident. It is a powerful weapon capable of controlling water, creating storms, and commanding sea creatures. The trident, like the Master Bolt and the Helm of Darkness, can withstand great forces and channel your divine powers. I take the trident into my hands and as soon as I do, I use the pool of inspiration to gain information on the weapon, how it was crafted, what enchantments it has and how it works. Unlike with Zeus and Hades, there is no reaction. Nothing happens because as soon as I touch the handle, I realize that the weapon and its enchantments would break if I allowed it to channel and amplify all of my powers. So I cut it off from doing that and therefore stop a reaction from taking place. Thank you for this weapon. I am glad you made it for me, I say and then leave before they can ask any questions. I have much to do. I move away from Crete and disappear into the ocean. I look for a spot that is very deep and has a strong magma source. I will need it for what I am about to do. I will reforge this piece of metal and turn it into a weapon worthy of me and my ever-growing powers. It didn't take that long to find a good spot, but I needed to make sure no one would interrupt me here. So I created a powerful dome of water and infused it with my power to give it the properties I wanted. The properties I was talking about were impenetrable, concealed and no sounds could escape. Should Oceanus find me here, I don't want him to interrupt me as that would only ruin the process and have dire consequences. I will work with my soul here and if I make a mistake, I will damage my soul directly and basically turn me into a vegetable. Bang, 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 bang. I get to work on reforging my trident. I have to connect my soul with the weapon directly. The material which was used to make the trident was 8th metal. A mythical and magically conductive metal that acts as a powerful energy amplifier which can be used to bolster the mental abilities of psychics and us gods. It is strong, but it isn't enough. It would have been destroyed if I hadn't stopped the process. I was turning the trident into its molten state so that I could mix it perfectly with my soul substance and make my very own Zanpakuto. The process continued for a long time but I managed to create a very special Asachi and then connect it to my soul and finishing the process of having a Zanpakuto. But I added something special to the mold. I added Seifushi to the mix and made the material absorb all of Seifushi. Its properties and specialties, everything. That was a particular property I wanted for my symbol of power, growth, potential, and absorption. I would in the future add powerful weapons or Zanpakuto or even powerful metals to my trident and make it even more powerful. It is glorious. Chapter 7, Titanomachy. Poseidon POV. Holding my Zanpakuto trident in hand makes me feel truly powerful. I have to focus not to fall prey to this feeling and forget myself. This is how you make a powerful weapon with potential for growth. As this is a Zanpakuto, it also has a Zanpakuto spirit which is a representation of myself inside. So it is better to meet him/me right away. Because, unlike normal Shinigami, I know myself perfectly and have no unfinished business to take care of or insecurities. So let's see what we're working with. I sit down and focus on my soul space. It takes no time at all and I appear inside my soul space. It begins with a serene and beautiful beach. The sand is golden and soft, stretching for miles under a brilliant, blue sky. Palm trees sway gently in a warm, salty breeze which I love as I take a deep breath. Gentle waves lap against the shore, creating a soothing rhythm. Seagulls call softly in the distance, and the rustle of palm leaves adds to the tranquil ambience. I feel a calm wash over me as I observe the beach and slowly move my gaze towards the open waters. The ocean begins to reveal its different natures. From shallow, clear turquoise to a deeper, more mysterious, and darker blue. Near the shore, the water is transparent, allowing coral reefs and schools of tropical fish to be seen clearly. It looks calm and peaceful but it doesn't stay this way. Further out, the water darkens, hinting at the dangers and mystery below. This part of the ocean is calm but filled with a sense of ancient secrets, something that I know about even if I don't see it with my eyes. Beyond the calm, the water begins to turn more unruly. Powerful waves crash and churn, thunderclouds gather, and lightning strikes the stormy sea. This area represents my power to create storms and command the oceans and my fury. Beneath the stormy surface, there is something else. Contrary to the fast and chaotic water movements on the surface, there are serene waters that are darker than any other part of the soul space. The water is truly deep, and in the depths lurk some dark and ancient creatures that haven't seen the light of day for millennia. The ocean stretches infinitely in every direction. The horizon seems to merge with the sky, creating a seamless expanse of water that stretches out. As the waters extend into the distance, they begin to blend with the universe. The surface of the water reflects the night sky, filled with stars, planets, and distant growing and spiraling galaxies. The water transitions into the vastness of space, with stars shining within the depths of the darkness of the void, and celestial bodies drift like islands in this cosmic sea. There is nothing after that, only the darkness hiding the potential of what will and could be. It's beautiful, is it not? I hear a voice behind me say. I turn around and see a man without any features but glowing eyes standing next to an extravagant throne. I feel authority coming from the throne and understand what it stands for and who it is for. Picture. I am glad we get to meet like this. Are you guarding the throne? I ask. Of course. I am beyond happy you decided to arrive here this quickly. Why not sit inside it? I'm sure you understand that it is for the king alone. I am protecting it for you until the day you decide to sit on it, he says and bows his head. I understand. I wondered where my trident was, I say, and approach the golden throne. I look at it and am impressed at the powerful and simple design. As I sit down, I feel a power flow through me in the truest sense. Water, liquids, vibrations, flow, waves, they are all connected, and I can feel everything, my control over everything, and more importantly, the potential implications and development. I look at my Zanpakuto spirit and smile. He does as well and nods his head. If you would do me the honor of saying my name, my king, he says. Kappa upsilon nu delta omicron nu tau alpha tau omega nu rho omicron nu tau omega nu upsilon gamma rho nu. Fang of the flowing liquids, I say, and all liquids start to become violent for a second and then relax again, showing me its obedience. How is the essence of competence affecting this place? Are there any effects I should know about? I ask Fang after sitting down. No, my king. Everything is as it should be. The world doesn't change fundamentally, but there are things which are added as you grow stronger. There might be more portions of the sea which get uncovered or change if you gain more powers or grow more powerful. As you can see, there is no limit to be seen. You may develop as you see fit. That's good to know. Then we will do that. I will focus on my powers over liquids and vibrations and everything connected to that. I am sure you can see how to branch out your powers and divinities further and grow even more powerful. But that is your choice, Fang says. Good, then let us grow more powerful. I appear in the real world again and make everything disappear. I have my trident with me and feel the difference from before. Now I can work with this. I will make sure to use it well in the coming wars and fights. There will be many conflicts in the years and millennia to come. So I needed a powerful weapon. Good that I have everything now. I shoot through the water with new speeds now. The amplification is not like it used to be before. The trident is now a Zanpakuto and this is its sealed state. So imagine how powerful it will get when I unseal it and use the released states. Just like with Ichibe Hyasub, my trident has abilities and powers in its sealed state as well. In this state, it commands the tides, the waves and the sea itself. It is a symbol of my power and domains of the sea, storms, earthquakes, vibrations, waves and any form of liquid. Holding this trident would show all living creatures in the oceans and on land, that they hold some control over life, as the life force I have been constantly feeding on, has also started to fuse with my trident. It is now growing stronger as time passes. Very soon it will become a symbol of life itself. A fitting weapon for me. I shoot through the waters and reach Crete where the war preparations are already underway. I move into the tent where my siblings and a few others are standing around a large map. I can see that Zeus and his lover Métis hold the position of leader at the moment. But that is none of my concern. Hades doesn't look pleased as he doesn't find Zeus to be a good leader for them. Hera is unhappy because she sees herself on Zeus' side and not Métis. Demeter is unhappy because she has to leave her plans for this, and Hestia is unhappy because we have to fight our father and family now. The situation has changed. My father Oceanus has not agreed to help us and is actively looking for us. Maybe you could give us more information about it. Poseidon, Métis says and looks at me. Yes, I felt him moving around the seas as I was going along with my business, but he hasn't found us yet. I don't think he will anytime soon. And if he does, I can handle him to give us our first advantage. We could either turn him and show him that we will win this war, so he has assurances should he switch sides. Or we can kill him and forget about it. I shrug. No, you will not kill my father. We will try and turn him to our cause and not do it forcefully. Is that understood? Métis says and asks me with narrowed eyes. I tilt my head in surprise. I don't know what gives you the courage to talk to me like that. What are you talking about? I just said that we dash. I don't give a fleeting gale about what you just said. It's how you talk to me that surprises me, and I will not have it, no matter who you f***ck. So you either rein in your attitude before I have to do it. Savvy. Enough, Poseidon. Don't talk to her like that. She didn't mean to be rude and just didn't want you to kill her father. It is natural she has a hard time staying calm. And don't you dare threaten her again, Zeus tells me from Métis' side. Oh, it seems like the vibrator has spoken. Very well then, let me tell you how this relationship will work from now on. I will follow my own flow and not be contained to petty politics or anything you say. Your arrogance has started to get to your head. If someone disrespects me, I talk to them however I wish. And if you have something against that, then we can settle this at any time. but don't assume you hold a greater position on this council, I say, looking my younger brother in the eyes. Anytime, Zeus says, and starts to flare his aura and divine power. The tent starts to be destroyed as both our powers clash in the middle. My momentum collides with Zeus' divine energy. The sky darkens and his eyes start to flash in a light blue light with lightning coming out of them. I am unimpressed by his display and hold my ground. Enough! Stop fighting this instance, Hestia screams at us, but neither of us stops. It is time you understand the difference in our powers, Poseidon, Zeus states. His voice is electrically charged and starts to charge and heat the air around us. I would be impressed if it was not something I could change at any time. I didn't say anything and only started to materialize my killing intent at the youngest sibling who apparently never enjoyed education in the form of a good beating. So it was time that I opened his eyes to the truth. My will and killing intent took form and I saw as the color slowly drained from Zeus' face. Picture. He had never fought anyone who was just as strong or even stronger than him yet. And that was not good. We had to change that. I continued to look down on him as his form seemingly grew smaller and smaller. He began to sweat and apparently, he wasn't the only one. Métis herself was affected by my intent as well and she had fallen to the ground crying tears and in fear. I looked at my brother apathetically as a hand touched my shoulder. I look back only to see Hades shake his head. I stop pressuring Zeus and then turn around. Gasp. I hear him gasp for breath and finally fall to the ground like Métis did. His strength just left him completely. What a pathetic display of arrogance without any power to back it up. He will have to change. Thankfully, I am uninterested in becoming an Olympian, or one of the council at least. Let Zeus fill it with his offspring. I will fight who attacks me, no matter who he or she is. You better remember that and not cross me again. Now, I will follow the plan of attack, since I believe it has some merit to it. But you will soon find out that it won't guarantee us victory. We aren't strong enough yet, well some of us at least, I say and then walk away. If Oceanus comes and fights me, we will see the difference between the new generation and the old. He stands no chance from what the pool of inspiration tells me. I have found a lot of ways how to defeat him, but pure skill and control over the seas and water will guarantee my victory as well. I can't wait to get into a real fight. I still have a lot of things to learn and grow more powerful. Poseidon never truly understood what his divinities allowed him to do, but I won't make that mistake. Chapter 8, Titanomachy 2. Poseidon POV. The war had begun and instead of hiding, we were now in full-on confrontation. Cronus hadn't shown himself on the battlefield yet, since he didn't take us seriously. The disappearance of his wife is not something that scares him. Rhea stays on Crete or moves to not be captured again. She doesn't really interest me that much. No matter what her divinity is, I am not going to have feelings for her as my mother, just because she gave birth to me. I am thankful to her, but that is enough from my side. I was currently standing face to face with Atlas, one of Cronus' generals in this war. He was tasked with getting the insubordinate brood. But that wouldn't happen anytime soon. The longer this war went on, the stronger I became as I never stopped using pools of inspiration. More and more control over my domains and more strength, physical and mental as well as spiritual. It was a grind and I was the best one in this game because I didn't necessarily have to do anything to grow. Come now, little godling. Let's end this farce. Cronus will welcome you in his ranks and reward you, should you change sides and fight for us. You may even gain the position of ruler of the seas above Oceanus. Cronus has been unhappy with him anyway, Atlas tells me. Do you think because we're in a desert I am powerless? I ask him in amusement. He was ridiculous. Not very smart and also not strong enough to be a threat. You are at your weakest here and no matter what happened when we were on Mount Othrys, you will not manage to do that again. I underestimated you, but no more. I see. Well then show me what you got, I say, and motion for him to come at me. As you wish, Atlas says, and gets into position. Boom. In a flash, he is in front of me. His giant fist approaches my face and gets closer. Similar to the time it was last time, I can both see and feel it coming. But this time, I did something else. As his skin makes contact with my face and I feel the massive force behind the attack, I absorb all of that force and move around his fist like water flowing and deliver a punch to his face with more than double his force. Boom. I feel bones break but his head doesn't explode as he is not the titan of strength and endurance for nothing. He spouts blood and shoots backwards falling into the sand and painting the ground golden with his Itcher, the gods, and Titan's blood. I wait for him to get back on his feet and slowly walk forward. He is slowly getting back up again and looks at me with anger and surprise. He didn't expect me to be this strong. Well, while I could use that much force and much more as well, I didn't do it that way. This was his own force used against him. Atlas is back on his feet. To you. He spits a clog of Itcher to the ground and cracks his neck. He is like a brawler. Good, I wanted to try this out anyway. He runs towards me again and punches me in the stomach. I block his attack and move towards him. With fast hands, I strike his chest with several punches and strikes. Boom. Bam. Bam. Boom. I continued my assault attacks and moved around Atlas blocks and retaliation strikes with increasing ease. I felt my martial arts improve and grow beyond what I had learned up to that point. Moving like water was something that came naturally to me, so it was obvious for me to use the pools of inspiration and attain everything I could about the martial art from One Punch Man, the water stream rock smashing fist. I continued using the martial art and as I used it, it started to change and grow alongside me. My punches grew more powerful and quicker, my movements more unpredictable, and I felt myself turn more and more into a liquid as I rained down punches and kicks on the sad Titan. I started to reach a barrier, but thanks to my essence, I passed the barrier like it didn't exist, and with it, an understanding reached my mind and body. I was beginning to understand the flow of the fight, the flow of movements, and the flow of how to punch, kick, and use more powers. Flow, what an interesting concept, and a widespread one at that. The flow of this fight was slowly being figured out, without using the essence. And suddenly it clicked and I saw the outcome of this fight. Without realizing when it started, other aspects of my divinity began to mix with my moves and do more damage. Atlas was a training dummy at this point and wouldn't be able to stand after what happened today. I feel the vibrations of my own movements and start to take them in, instead of letting them out. So instead of making vibrations on the ground and the air, I absorbed them. This wonderful idea had great consequences for the fight. I no longer felt any resistance to my moves. I felt myself approaching another barrier, and it was a grand one at that. Bam, 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 bam. My fists started to rain down on the long unconscious Titan, and just before I felt myself pass the barrier, my body moved without me thinking about it, and just in time. Vroom. A massive beam of light hits the position I was at just a moment ago. I look into the sky and see another Titan floating there with eyes shining brightly, full of divine energy and his divinity of light. Hyperion. The Titan of light lands on the ground next to Atlas and observes his nephew, who is in a very sad state. He was punched and kicked into a near-death state by me, so it is natural that he is unrecognizable at the moment. What an embarrassment you are, nephew. To think that you are one of the generals in this war, truly a disappointment, he says, and kicks the Titan lying on the ground. Sigh. He turns towards me and looks at me with contempt. Despite his performance and my disgust at his loss, he is still my nephew, so doing this to him is unforgivable. You will pay for this, boy, he says. Hyperion has his hands behind his back and looks like a distinguished royal with his flaming eyes and the shining glow around him. But he doesn't intimidate me in the slightest. On the contrary, he ruined my breakthrough, so it is better he offers himself up for that. Bling. Boom. A fist hits my face with the speed of light and makes me shoot through the desert at incredible speed. Before I cross the entire desert, my movement stops abruptly. I once again absorbed the vibrations I was emitting, and with it the waves emanating from my body. I neutralized the kinetic energy by absorbing the waves and stopped my body from flying further back. Instead of pain, I feel energized. This was the first time I absorbed the energy waves coming from my body like this, and I was eager to see whether it would work. Apparently it did. Whoosh. Hyperion appears in front of me again with a surprised look on his face. Impressive of you to stop your momentum like this. But what does it matter? You won't be able to hit me at all. But I hope you don't give up anyway, Hyperion says with an evil smirk on his face. Third-person POV. Poseidon gets into position. His hands move in a circle in front of him. Picture. Hyperion's figure disappears, and while it may look like he teleports to those who have slower reaction times, Poseidon is not one of them. His expression is focused completely and his body moves instinctively. Like a tidal wave, his fists blur and move forward, finding their target and creating waves of energy that attack Hyperion's approaching figure. Picture. Voom. 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 The fist of Hyperion moving at the speed of light versus the hundreds of thousands of fists flowing like liquids also moving close to that speed, clash against one another. Hyperion understands that his momentum is ruined and also begins to attack Poseidon using his immense speed to punch him. And while his speed is faster than Poseidon's in the beginning, the moves of Poseidon make it hard if not impossible to hit him. Picture. That wasn't all. As the clash goes on, the evolved form of Poseidon's water stream rock smashing fist did more and more damage to Hyperion. The problem was that at the speeds they were going, Hyperion couldn't do anything but power through or take massive amounts of damage. The continuously growing martial art of Poseidon results in the release of powerful shockwaves that surge through Hyperion's body, causing devastating internal damage, which can't be healed fast enough by his healing factor. The shockwave generated by this technique is so potent that it starts to pulverize surrounding debris into fine powder and is also starting to do the same thing to Hyperion's bones. But it is still not finished. Something else starts to change in Poseidon's fists. They start to shine with bright light and a bubble begins to form around it, starting to distort the surrounding air. And then, it happens. Poseidon's fist reaches Hyperion's face. Vibration knuckle. Picture. The air in Hyperion's face cracks and then breaks apart, exploding into a shower of brain matter and itcher. From the beginning 2 titans, only one is still alive. Atlas has managed to prove why he was the titan of endurance and is once again standing. He looks at the dead body of his uncle, Hyperion the titan of light, and mourns slightly. He knows the repercussions of this fight will be felt in the coming time when Cronus grows furious. He does not accept failure, and what he and Hyperion showed this day was nothing short of embarrassing and pathetic. But that wasn't really true. Poseidon was a different beast altogether, and he simply overpowered them with skill and power. The power the god of the sea and earthquakes has shown this day will be remembered as a new age of battle. No weapons were used, only unarmed combat and pure skill and use of his divinities. But Atlas wasn't done yet. His short sadness was replaced by fear of his uncle Cronus' reaction and anger. He was fuming and used his top speed to zoom towards Poseidon. His steps once again could be felt through the ground and the air, but Poseidon was not paying around here. He still remembered the comment Atlas made at the beginning of their fight. What was it you said before? You are at your weakest here in the desert. If there is no longer an ocean, I can simply create one, Poseidon says and takes a deep breath and looks at the ground. Great exploding water colliding wave. Whoosh. From his mouth, he spews out a massive amount of water, which starts to accumulate and cover the entire area around them. The sandy desert starts to fill with water and a ferocious tsunami forms, rising hundreds of meters into the sky. Picture. Atlas stops running and looks at the ginormous tsunami in front of him. All his will to fight disappears like a candlelight in a hurricane. Disbelief, confusion, and fear are seen on his face and he doesn't even react as the wave collides on top of him. All of the Titan's bones are crushed completely and his entire body breaks, turning him into a piece of paper with gore and ichor splashing all around and painting the water golden. As if that wasn't enough, a trident pierces the poor sod's back. The little ichor that is left in his body and inside the water around them, is drained from the Titan's body and absorbed by the trident, ending his life once and for all. Chapter 9, Titanomachy 3, Poseidon POV. After I had killed the 2 Titans, I used my powerful and continuously growing connection to the life force and played with it a bit. I knew that the Titans would simply reform in Tartarus after they died, but that would take a rather long time. I didn't care about Hyperion, but Atlas would play an important role in the future. That was also why I used my trident to absorb his ichor and his essence. My Zanpakuto or Soul Cutter sword is special in a way. In the sealed state, it allows me to fully use all of my powers, especially the life force, the fundamental force of this universe. I have gotten a very deep connection. Using it, I absorbed the ichor and essence of Atlas, in order to both play with it and grow more proficient in manipulating life and bring him back. He would be out of the war, most probably, because after what I am going to put him through, literally playing with his life and manipulating his soul, he won't be in any fighting condition. I have used the pools of inspiration to have the life force enhance me further and further while using another one to deepen my understanding of it. The fundamental forces of the universe are very powerful if you use them right. And as my understanding passively increases, I grow more proficient in manipulating life and also gain more and more life force, or vitality. I feel my body being forced to adapt and grow along with the increased density of life force inside it. That is perfect for me. So I get to work. I take the divine soul of Atlas, which my trident has absorbed, and manipulate the life energy contained inside it. I recognize the intricacies and the secrets it contains. The topic of souls is an interesting one. And with Urdsunemeya's knowledge, I already know how to create a Sakai's, but I can use more knowledge of them. Either the Soul King from Bleach, Lucius Socrates from Black Clover, or Mahito from Jujutsu Kaisen would be a good idea. But more on that later. I can also learn from this. It takes a few hours for me to be satisfied, and after that, I control all the liquid inside the corpse of Atlas, which hasn't dissolved thanks to me, and fix him. The broken bones are only fixed minimally, and then I use the power of life force and fuse his soul back with his body. Quite a complicated process, but it does work nonetheless. Then, I wait for Atlas to wake up again. I can feel that he is alive, but he is not yet conscious. His divine Titan body is slowly healing him, but there seems to be a stir inside his soul. The connection between body and soul seems to shake like a fragile tree branch. Atlas' eyes flutter open for a second and he looks at me. WWIS, go whole no. He stutters something and then loses consciousness. Seems like he fell into a coma. Oh well, that's none of my concern. After fighting and killing Hyperion and almost killing Atlas, my name started to become more and more famous. But not just in Greece or Europe, even though this didn't exist yet, but also in other pantheons. My control over the oceans and seas was increasing constantly, and I was already more than strong enough to fight god kings easily. That was concerning to other pantheons, as some of them didn't have a god king yet. Like the Greek pantheon, the others were created at about the same time as ours was, and that meant that there were only very few, apart from the primordials, who had that type of power. There was the Hindu pantheon, which was truly powerful. There was also Amaterasu and Ra, who were very powerful, but I, as a very young god, was already in their ranks of power. My control over the domain of water, seas, and ocean was higher than any other god of the seas on earth, and it was only increasing. I am certain that if it continues this way, there will be a war between pantheons, and if my guess is correct, Zeus would rather help them than stand at my side. It is to be expected. He won't be happy with the results of this war. For that reason, I will need 2 things. More power, as you can't ever have enough of that in this universe, and powerful supporters who were loyal to me. I already thought about the supporters and loyalists before. That was also the reason why I started to gather information about the devil fruits from One Piece. And the soul sharing, or distribution power, was also a reason for that. But I knew that soul distribution is a very dangerous thing to do here. I don't want others who have more power than I do to use this against me. Therefore, I had to come up with a solution to stop anyone from interfering with my soul. And what did I do? Obviously use the pools of inspiration. Soul immunity, immunity to soul interference and manipulation of any kind, except my own. I will improve and strengthen my soul over time, so I will need to have access and be able to manipulate it. I let this one pool do just that. Give me soul immunity against outside interference and let it be. After these years, I believe it is time for me to do what I had planned before the war. So I went to the ocean again and traversed the seas for suitable subjects. All the wildlife and especially the sea life loved me. So after a while, I found who I was looking for and decided to raise them from their usual selves to something much greater. The first one I chose was a shark, the ancestor of the great white. I connected with the shark and transmitted my thoughts and plans to him. Without even thinking about it, the shark agreed to everything I wanted. He didn't even listen to all I had to tell him. No matter the pain, the risks or even death, he would do whatever I wanted. So I conjured a fruit in my hand and fed it to him. His body began to slowly change and after a while, the shark gained 4 limbs, 2 arms and 2 legs. He also gained a neck and his neck moved a bit. His muscles began to bulge and he looked like a bodybuilder but on godly steroids. Picture. Instinctively, he knew what I had just given him and he tried to kneel. But kneeling is hard in the ocean unless you are at the bottom. He bowed his head and then spoke. You are too magnanimous, my king. This servant thanks you for your most valuable gift, the shark said. Your name shall be the Riptide. What I have given you is called Poseidon's fruit. It contains a tiny part of my soul which gave you the abilities you now possess. The ability to walk on land, speak, and the shrift. Use your powers well, for we will soon have to battle again, I tell Riptide. As you command, my king, Riptide says and goes away to find other sharks and increase his army to prepare and fight for me. I combined the human fruit from one piece with soul distribution and also added a shrift to the soul piece. This gave him a letter with holds power inside it. The Riptide is an ability which suits a shark well. He will be able to recruit other sharks to his cause and can either share his powers with them, to create a massive army of sharks that are incredibly enhanced, or take their powers and fuel himself, making him even more powerful. Apart from that, Riptide will continue to grow larger and stronger the more he eats. The more powerful something or someone is, the more power he gains. It is quite a powerful ability and fitting for one of my generals. The second general I found was an octopus. I sensed a great life force inside him and decided to add him to my army. I told him the same thing I told Riptide and he agreed as quickly as Riptide did. The process was the same, and instead of a normal octopus, a similarly ripped giant of a man stood in front of me. He gained more tentacles now and he could regenerate them at his pleasure. He was now powerful, both physically and with the shrift I gave him. Picture. My king, I am deeply honored for this gift. If you would please give me a name, he asked me. Your name shall be the Inkwell. You have a powerful ability, use it well, I told him. He left after that to go ahead and recruit more of his kind and increase my army. I decided to give my generals the ability to share their power and create strong soldiers under their commands. It was very useful and made it easier for me since I didn't have to do it. The Inkwell had a very powerful ability and I knew where it came from. You see, ever since I used the pools of inspiration to passively increase my attributes, I also used one to constantly increase my skill, proficiency, and understanding of my divinities. I had one for my divinity of the sea and water, one for all the other liquids there were like blood, milk, alcohol, oil, gasoline, acids, poisons, creams, mercury, magma, mud, hot wax and ink. Another pool focused on vibrations, earthquakes, waves, and so on. Now, there was something that interested me greatly. And that was ink manipulation. I saw the true power and potential behind ink manipulation. You use ink to write. And what do you write? Letters and words of course, or you can also paint. Words, that was an incredibly powerful concept. Words held meaning and therefore words could hold power. There was one man who used this power to the extremes and that was Ichibe Hyasub, Monako Asho, or the monk who calls the true name. His power went beyond mere ink manipulation of course. He held power over linguistics. And that's what I wanted as well. It was the next step to grow stronger and step into a higher level of power in this universe. The good thing was that it was very closely connected to my divinities. Because the flow or waves were also connected to it. The way words flowed and the brush on the paper, the meaning of each word, it was closely connected. But let me come back to Inkwell. The reason he gained the power that he did, was because I was delving into the powers of Ichibe Hyasub and was already growing beyond even that. But what were Inkwell's powers? The power Inkwell held was the power of ink. Like Ichibe's Zenpakuto Ikemonji, Inkwell's ink held the power to wipe away not anything physical, but spiritual. The Inkwell was the power to cover up the powers of others and render them useless. It was not the power to take away the powers, but it was rather temporary. The powers were mute so to speak. It wasn't like Ikemonji where the name would be taken away or erased, which took away the powers for good, but a watered down version of it. Inkwell could cover up the powers of others using his ink and make them powerless. After Inkwell, I found another candidate for a general. A jellyfish. The name I gave him was very fitting, in different ways. He became the Tentacruel. His powers resolved around poison and water. His poison was so strong that he could seriously harm and even kill a titan, but that would need the titan not to be very strong. He wouldn't affect Cronus much and also Hyperion, Oceanus, and Iapetus wouldn't die from it. But the minor ones or weaker ones would be seriously endangered. Unlike the other two, Tentacruel wasn't buff. He stayed slender and agile. He was quite lucky on that front. I'm sure a lot of water nymphs would want to have a go at him. But it is unlikely that they would succeed in seducing him or forcing him into anything. He was more powerful than any water nymph now. Picture. After that, I found a few more. I found a whale, who gained the sea, the calm. I didn't call him that and instead called him Mistral. His power revolved around calmness, which had many applications that would surely come to play an important role in the war to come. His body didn't change that much. He only gained a golden horn which held great power and was connected to his shrift. I saw something interesting in him and would soon go into that, but not right now. Picture. Finally, I found 2 krakens in the deep ocean. They had woken up a while ago after feeling my growing connection to all life, but sea life specifically. They sweared loyalty and submitted to me. I did not give them a shrift, but they were still granted a small piece of my soul and the Poseidon fruit. After that, well, see for yourself. Picture Chapter 10, Titanomachy 4. Poseidon POV. The war has been going on for years now. I have been using this chance to scout the oceans for a place to build my kingdom. I wasn't planning on meddling in the annoying stuff Zeus will create. I did anger Gaia when I killed Hyperion, but she seemed to understand that he attacked me first. Not that that would matter. She loves all her children and will also be angry when Zeus deals with Cronus. But she is none of my concern. Right now, I am becoming more and more invaluable to her. That's right, I am slowly growing to be indispensable to Mother Earth. And the reason for that? My connection to the life force. The fundamental forces of the universe are, as the name suggests, fundamental, and the multiverse can't function without them. They form the tapestry that is reality. My connection to the life force is growing so much, that I am already the being with the most control over it. It is like a domain of gods. I as a god of the seas have to compete against other gods of the sea on Earth. Oceanus was the strongest contender. But my rise to power has forced all the others to the back as I took more and more of the domain and made it my own. This is why I am so disliked by other pantheons who have gods of the sea like ours. Oceanus is a rather timid titan and a rational one as well. He didn't want to fight for Cronus as he saw how bad of a king his brother was. But now he is angry as he grows weaker in the seas, the more my control over the domain increases. The life force is similar in the way that while it might be limitless, there are those who hold greater understanding and therefore control over the force. Gaia had a connection to the life force, which was what connected us the first time I met her. It was the reason she looked at me favorably. But that has now changed. I have become a danger to her and all life. As the personification of Earth, she is a strong giver of life. The animals, humans, and the plants prosper because she allows it. Yes, I also do that, and Demeter is also helping, but it is all happening on Gaia. She is the foundation of all life on Earth. But things are now different. She no longer holds the strongest authority over the life force. While it was strong, Gaia didn't really hold much power over the life force anyway. She didn't understand just how widespread and limitless it truly is. I never limited myself, which is why I have grown so powerful during this war. If Gaia were to just attack or even kill me, she would set off the balance of life not just on the planet, but in our entire universe. That was how far my reach had grown already. I couldn't snuff out all life in the universe, I was still far too weak for that, but I could feel the life. My vitality was constantly growing by being fed the life force, and my body sometimes underwent metamorphosis. My army was growing throughout the war. I found more powerful soldiers, but finding capable generals who gained power from me wasn't easy. Only powerful animals and those with talent could withstand the enhancements and power I offered. I did find some though, and I was happy with what I found. Picture. Nonetheless, I was using my time to start research about other things that had nothing to do with fighting or war. I was going to create my own dimension that connected to Earth, but could also be cut off if I wanted to. I was using one pool of inspiration for that and another to learn about architecture. I wanted to have an entrance, so to speak, and a place where the chosen few could come and even fewer could enter my kingdom. That was why I was currently using the control over water and magic. I had to change its atomic structure and create the beautiful material I wanted to start building. I kept things simple as I didn't want to make it too big here on Earth. In my dimension, I will go nuts, make it ginormous, and add all types of water-themed things. It took me a while, but after thinking about it, I managed to finish a small city underwater in one of the deepest parts of the ocean. I added multiple magic formations to allow breathing for anyone who couldn't breathe underwater. I was also thinking about adding public transportation to move around. But that would be in the future. Or maybe I could have others deal with that problem. Picture. After spending a long time designing the small city, I focused on the most important part of it, the portal that would take you to my dimension. I had to use my magic and divinities to the maximum for this one. Especially my power over waves was used with this. I wanted to connect the dimension to the portal but make it safe. I implemented a security seal that would shut the portal off immediately when danger was felt. I created a marvelous portal that seemed to fit with my power and looked aesthetically appealing. Picture. So after a few months of working, everything was ready for my personal dimension. My kingdom. The place where I would rule from and where my followers and most importantly, my family would live. So I used a lot of time to start building there. I wanted to keep the water theme, which I loved and which was what I stood for. There were seas, lakes, rivers, and anything that had to do with water or liquids everywhere. I divided my kingdom into different biomes. I created a very advanced biome that used a lot of technology and would be used for education and research. Jobs weren't necessary in my kingdom as everything you needed was provided here. I will only allow a select few to come and live in my dimension. And everyone that does, will have something to do there to pass the time. The advanced technological biome also offered a lot of ways to spend time by watching movies or playing games and the like. Picture. Another biome was a place for the people to live and spend time. There were resorts or medical wings to relax and many more that I started to get into. I forgot the time and simply continued with what I was doing. More and more ideas popped into my head and made me go faster and faster. Picture. I really forgot that we were actually supposed to be fighting a war when I stopped and noticed that a couple of months had passed. Quite funny, but now I have to deal with the approaching presence I am feeling. Someone was coming and he was rather strong, well compared to others at least. I felt the sea life and the vibrations tell me all about it, and to make sure I didn't damage the small city I built, I moved away from it and waited for him to arrive. Whoosh! A tall man with a full beard and ripped physique arrived in front of me, looking all around himself and marveling at the architecture. Do you like it? I ask him. Not really, he says and looks me in the eyes. I know he is lying, but that was to be expected. He can't say that he likes it, since we are supposed to be enemies after all. So what are you doing here, Oceanus? I ask the Titan. I am here to kill you. Your time has come and Cronus wants your head. I am also beyond angry with you for trying to steal away my domain. I am the ruler of the seas and not you. I am Oceanus and I will not be pushed away by a youngling like you who thinks he can take whatever he likes, Oceanus roared. I am unimpressed. I am not taking whatever I want, I take what is rightfully mine. In this world, the strong survive, while the weak are preyed upon. You are weaker than me, so I can take control of the domain and you can't do anything about that. If I were weaker, you would crush me to please your brother. I am not faulting you for that, as it is the way the world works, but don't come here and accuse me of pushing you away when you do the same to all the others who have a divinity of water or the sea. You little shit, Oceanus shouts and attacks me. His fist approaches me, but my powers are very different when they are in water, compared to when I am in the desert. In the desert I killed Hyperion and could have killed Atlas as well, so what does he think he is doing? His fist stops millimeters in front of me. Poof. He can't move forward as I am using the water to block him. We are surrounded by water and he thinks it is smart enough to challenge me, who has a much higher affinity with the domain than he does. He is truly impulsive. I guess that's why he has so many children. Damn you, Oceanus shouts and starts to punch the water in front of me. BAAM. 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 But the barrier of water doesn't move one bit. Seeing as he has no control over this, he uses his divinity to force himself through, making me smile. He has to use a tremendous amount of divine energy to get through the barrier I created by simply controlling the water without my divinity. Boom. He finally breaks through and shoots towards me. I don't attack him and just dodge all of his attacks. This is fun to do every once in a while. I forgot that we were fighting a war and immersed myself in the dimension. But it is good to fight every once in a while. It keeps my body in top shape. I focus on Oceanus as he starts to use some of his fighters to attack me. Those are mostly his children because no sea life would dare to act against me at this point. So this is a sad story for him. But I am not emotionally attached to him as an uncle or them as my cousins that I would spare them or go easy on them. This is a war and if they enter the fight, they have to be prepared for death. Die, they yell, and think that they have me. I wave my hand in front of me, letting it pass through the seawater and focusing my intent on what I want. 1,000 feeding sharks. The water transforms and from it, a giant wave manifests. Yes, it manifests underwater. The currents pick up and at the top of the wave, thousands of sharks appear, ready to swarm down and devour all my enemies. Picture. The attack is greatly successful as the children and soldiers of Oceanus are suddenly attacked by thousands of sharks and have to defend themselves. But that won't help them that much, because even Oceanus struggled with my water manipulation, so they will have an even harder time. And there are 1,000 sharks. Ayah. NOOO. Help, father. Oceanus is in shock as he observes the giant wave underwater form and the sharks attack and rip apart his soldiers and also children. His children are hanging on, but that won't be for much longer. So he decides to not help his children and instead attacks me and tries to kill me, because he believes that by killing me, the attack would stop, but that's wrong. How dare you attack my children? He screams as he attacks me with everything he's got. I block all of his attacks by creating barriers and hard objects using the water around. He has no chance at all, but his anger is clouding his judgment. You attacked me, I am simply finishing this. Great waterfall technique. Picture. A large volume of water is directed from all around. I use my will and focus on the amount of water I want to use for this attack, and once I do just that, it cascades towards the Oceanus and his soldiers, resembling a giant waterfall current crushing anything that is in its path. I see Oceanus' wide eyes as he understands what will happen.